Hi, friends. Kirsten here. This is the last podcast of 2024. How you doing? How you feeling? We are going to do some reflecting today, and I'm going to invite you to take this similar approach to reflecting on your year. I personally think in the past, I put a lot of pressure on myself to reflect and do it right and do it well and think hard and make the most of the year. And it can become such a big task in your mind that you never do it. You never get around to it. You think, oh, best save that for when I feel like I have ample extra time and energy, which we don't in the final days of the year. So I wanted to make sure I had a little look back, but I did it really casually. I want you to know this is how it happened for me, and this is how you can do it for you. And I literally wrote my answers on a post it. Usually I type out what bullet points I'm going to hit so that I don't just ramble endlessly. But for the purposes of this reflection and doing the exercise in the way I'm encouraging you to do it, if that's the most accessible and fun way for you to do it, if you want to spend an intense hour journaling, by all means, do you and have fun. If that's not your jam, I want you to know I did this when I just was like, I wonder what would come to mind if I thought about what the biggest lessons from this year were. I just kind of posed the question to myself and let it marinate. I brushed my teeth, walked around the house doing end of the night things. And as answers came to me, I did put pressure on myself to think hard about them. So if that's how you want to reflect on this year, I'm encouraging you to make it your own. If you're driving, if you're between errands, if you're standing in line, you can use this time to float in that question. What do I think the biggest lessons from this year were? What were the best moments of the year, etc. So as answers came to me, I wrote them down. I'm going to read them out and talk about them a little bit. The first lesson slash reminder from 2024 that I wrote down was this truth that I think a lot of us are unhappy about. I think we are angry about this truth. And I think we use this truth against ourselves a lot of the time. We go into blame and self judgment. And the truth is, sometimes you have to find a boundary by crossing it. It doesn't feel good. We don't like it. Sometimes we think, I should have known this in advance. I should have planned better for this. I should have seen this coming. I shouldn't have let this happen. On and on and on and on and on. The truth is, sometimes we don't know what boundaries we're going to need, the boundaries that will most serve us. We don't find out until we realize they've been crossed and we get to feel all of those feelings. And then we get to do something about it. The reason I think this was a big reminder takeaway from the year for me is I just remembered how tempting it can be to make it your fault that you're in a situation that you don't like or that doesn't feel good or doesn't feel healthy or aligned. And the less time, this is my personal opinion, my personal decision, the less time I can waste on the self flagellation aspect of that situation, the better for everyone involved, but mainly me, because I'm the one that counts the most in my life. I really noticed a lot of boundaries that had to get put in place this year. And I really noticed an effort on my part to not make it my problem that I was quote unquote in that mess to begin with. I think it's different if you keep finding yourself in the same situation. Again, I don't think self judgment is the best solution for that, but there's a different pattern to look at that's happening there, probably. But in life, on whatever scale, whether it's in your relationship, professional settings, or boundaries with time, or conversation dynamics with a friend, if you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling some kind of way, you're overworking, you're being taken for granted, you're not getting as much back as you're giving, or your needs aren't being met in some way, my encouragement is to process those feelings. Let yourself be upset if that's how you feel. We need those emotions to signal us that we need to change something. And then don't waste any time making it your fault that you're in this situation or you let something happen. What happened. We can look at why it happened later if we need to. Just get on your own team in this moment and do what you got to do to fix the situation, make it better for you, right? This one might go along with the previous one. It's not exactly a boundary thing, but a standout from 2024 for me. A lesson I feel like I lived without apology was you don't have to get back to people on their schedule. You really don't. You don't have to text people back right away. You don't have to email them right away. You don't have to participate in something they want you to participate in on their terms, on their timeline. The overall lesson here is it is okay to go at your pace. I really noticed myself this year not worrying about hurrying to keep up with other people's schedules, other people's expectations, my idea about other people's expectations. I was pretty unapologetically transparent too in my more casual communications. Obviously, with clients, I have professional standards I maintain, but that's my pace. I'm going to get back to you at a pace that feels good and in integrity for me. If I had a client email me or send me a Slack message at some hour that I wasn't working, that was fine. There was no sweat. I got back to them when my business hours started again, and everyone was fine with it. With friends and family members and text messages, let's just use this very everyday normal life example. I didn't bother myself to feel bad about not getting back to people right away. I feel like text messaging is such a weird and relatively new way of communicating where you're basically just throwing paper airplanes at people, and there can be an expectation on either side of the conversation that that paper airplane get caught and opened and read and responded to and returned immediately. And you know what? I just want you to know because I tell this to people often, and I often get one surprise. I don't care about getting back to people right away. That's just my pace. 2 to 5 days. If you haven't heard back from me on a text message, it's possible that I'm just busy. It's possible I'm going through something that leaves me limited bandwidth. So I'm not getting back to this because it's not a priority. It's possible that I think I responded. This happens all the time when I manufacture a memory that I definitely responded to that and I didn't. So I decided on my side of the street, it's not meaningful. And I offer this to you because it is available to you as well to decide it's not meaningful, to not make up meaning. If you're not responding to people super, super quickly, or if they're not responding to you super, super quickly, you can also decide that doesn't mean anything. Every time I don't hear back from someone, I'm like, they probably got stuff going on. And I leave it at that. I've been working with a lot of people lately on letting go of responsibility for things that is not their responsibility to take and their responsibility to manage. And in some way or another, this always comes up, this whole pace thing. So something to think about for the pace you want to have in 2025 and the rules you want to have around that. If you want to go at your own pace and maintain your norms and standards, permission granted, my friend. And getting back to the whole transparent thing, which I remember I started and then didn't close the loop on, I just let people know, hey, I've had a lot going on, so I didn't prioritize this. Sometimes I said sorry and did make it a big deal. Sometimes I didn't. I really wanted to normalize. You might hear back from me 2 days later and it's fine. You might hear back from me 5 days later and it's not a big deal. Sometimes I let people know right after I got a text, especially if it was really long. I was like, oh, I'm not going to read this for a while. Just so you know where I'm at. This is not going to get on my calendar anytime soon. And that's fine. The point is, it doesn't have to be personal to anybody involved if you choose to go at your own pace. All right. The next lesson, the standout from 2024. Oh, surprise, surprise. Self trust proves the single most important habit you can build. This is the hill I'm going to die on, you guys. If you've been a longtime listener or watcher of the podcast, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be in your world. You've heard me talk about self trust before, and I ain't going to stop talking about it. This year, I was on the other side of a lot of decisions that past me made. So a lot of things happened in 2023 and into the beginning of 2024 that I spent a lot of 2024 kind of experiencing the consequences and results from. And I had a lot of opportunities to judge myself, live in regret, ruminate, spend a lot of time in Raoul, the romanticized alternate universe lie that we did a very popular podcast episode on. I'll link it in the show notes. It's that place in your mind you can go where you just imagine how everything would be different if you had only said or done something differently. I will tell you in these final days now of 2024, a standout lesson and an experience I am very grateful for is that I can tell how much work I've put into my self-trust because of how much judgment and shame and regret I didn't live in this year. I had moments of feeling some feelings. I had some disappointment. I had some anger. I had some human emotions. And those feelings are kind of part of the deal. If you're going to be so bold as to make decisions, you risk the possibility of ever feeling any emotions about what comes from those decisions. It's just kind of what we sign up for, which I also think is helpful to remember. You don't ever make a decision on the condition that you never feel anything but positive feelings about it. Subconsciously, we definitely do, but that's something I work on with people. This is why I keep coming back to this habit being the most important one you could ever build, this skill being the most important one you could ever strengthen, being able to trust yourself. Because here's what happened in my mind when I had moments of, here I am in a consequence from these prior decisions. What I didn't waste time on and waste energy on and lose weeks of my life to were those mental conversations we can have with ourselves about how stupid we were. I can't believe I did that. What were you thinking? Where did I go wrong? How could I have blah, blah, blah? This is often how we think we should experience regret. And I am a decision coach who is here to tell you regret is okay. It is okay to experience regret, the feeling. What I don't want you to do is accept the lifestyle of regret, where you walk around your life thinking the same thoughts on repeat, therefore feeling the same crappy feelings on repeat and living in that pattern. No forward movement, no resolution, not feeling like you're on your own team. I can tell you from recent personal experience, it's possible to not like a decision you made and be on your own team 100% at the same time. You can be with yourself, feeling whatever you feel, disappointment, anger, regret. And you can also know at the exact same time, I made the choices I made for reasons I had. I was operating on today's truth that day. I thought I was making a good choice. I did the best I could. These are things I said to myself out loud, not trying to talk myself out of feeling any of my feelings, but reassuring myself, you know what? This is part of the deal of the humaning that we are all trying our darndest at here. Yeah, you made decisions. You had reasons for them at the time. And now that you have a different perspective on the entire situation, you don't really like your reasons, you don't really like your decisions, and you don't really like what happened from them. That's okay. It sucks right now. And here we are, still on Team Kirsten. I don't want you to be worried about me or anything. I didn't give all my money to some faceless email address in another country or anything dangerous like that. I just made some choices that I thought were the best ones at the time. And I got more information the more time went on. And then I didn't necessarily like the way things went. If you haven't spent any time working on trusting yourself and that relationship with your decisions, and you do tend to go into regret rumination and you tend to go into self judgment, this is your sign that it's time to do something about it. You don't have to live that way for the rest of your entire life. And it is a particular specialty of mine. So we need to talk. Go book your consult right now. Okay. The second most important skill or habit that proved itself super, super valuable and important this year is savoring. I think I did a podcast recently on this. I did Thanksgiving. So I will link to that episode in the show notes if you want to know more about what is this verb you're talking about, savoring. And is there a scientifically explained way to do it? Yes, there is. So listen to that episode next. But I'm a person who has on and off throughout life struggled with anxiety. My mind tends to be going very quickly and be often in the future. It has a hard time being here now where my body is, looking at what's happening around me. So this is something that I've had to work at to not just be present, but to actively enjoy a good moment in the present. This year, as I've alluded to, there was a lot of challenge I dealt with, and that made it doubly important that I was able to really be present for and internalize good moments because there were good moments. And something I'm grateful for here at the end of the year is that I'm not just left with that kind of Scroogey one liner about the year being hard, even though that would be an easy title to write for the book of 2024. It kind of always is, right? Every single year, you could just title it, oh, this terrible thing happened, or this year was crap or everything was on fire the whole time. Having developed this skill to be able to savor a present good moment has really made a cumulative difference in my perspective on the year as a whole and really my perspective on my life experience. And for someone with anxiety and strong negativity bias, that's really nice. So I encourage you to just notice, could this be your next growth area? Because it's really fun. Your homework is to just pay attention to and feel good about good moments. Okay. And the final standout lesson from 2024 was it is so important to make it your own. For me, this first came to mind about my business, my professional success, my professional satisfaction and fulfillment, my direction. It's easy to start out on any kind of professional path and assume you should want to emulate other people's definitions of success, externally validated models of success. To some extent, that's useful and true. In the grander scheme of life, and particularly if you're an entrepreneur or someone making up your own career and trajectory, it is so important at some point to reevaluate, what am I thinking success means? What am I aiming for overall? And does that vision, that definition of success need updating now that I am further along, now that I have new information versus my mindset when I started? I also think this applies to life overall. It's so easy to pursue models of success you've witnessed, you've learned. It's imperative that along the way of our progress, we stop to make sure we like where we're going. Use this opportunity to check in with, where am I headed? Do I feel like I have made that destination sufficiently my own? Personally, I made a lot of changes in my business this year and just my mindset about my business. I've let go of a lot of things I used to want, things I used to assume I should want. And I've really embraced making this whole operation my own, deciding what I want it to look like, how I want it to operate. And it feels really good to feel in charge of that. I am not telling you to abandon your aspirations to succeed according to other people. If you do want to win the gold medal or get the title bump, whatever version of success requires other people to buy in, I'm not telling you to abandon those goals, but I am telling you it will feel more satisfying if you take a second to really make it your own. And whatever that includes, gold medals and all, you get to know, oh, I really want this. I'm not just pursuing it because I decided I wanted it 5 years ago. So now here I am stuck on this trajectory. I don't even know if I would choose today. And one thing I want you to give yourself credit for is being in this position to make up your own definition of success. You can't get there without getting your hands dirty, without getting on the field and playing, without trying and seeing what happens and failing. So the fact that you are doing that and you are willing to is celebratable. And I want you to celebrate it. And if you want to more, and if you want to be a little bolder and you're trying and you want to be a little more willing to fail in order to find out where you really want to go, that's something that we can work on together. So as the year winds down, I hope you enjoy reflecting on your standouts from the year. And I hope it helps you go into next year ready to make the most of it. And I'm here to help if you don't want to do it alone. You can still book your quarterly coaching program. It's only going to be available through the end of January. So if you want to take a really broad scope look at the year and guarantee you're going to keep yourself on track and aligned and accountable all year long, that's going to be best for you. And we can also work together more short term and more consistently on a weekly basis. You can always just book a consult and we can talk it out. KirstenParker.com/schedule. If this is the year you become more decisive, less apologetic, more clear headed, you don't feel like you have to do everything alone, you see tangible progress on the areas of life that matter the most to you, that's available. We can do it and we can have fun doing it because I keep confetti on my desk. I hope you have a fabulous new year. I can't wait to see what you create. And if you want to team up, I'm here to help you. See you soon. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.